What you see in front of you there is what's called a phantom Omni. It's a haptics device designed so that a user can hold this pen, move around and feel different forces as if, for example, a surgical simulator can use a phantom Omni as the haptics device. Now the goal here is a bit different. What we're trying to do is, you can see the modifications here, is to change this phantom Omni from a haptic device where the user provides the actuation to a device that basically actuates so that it can, with an attachment, move along a patient's hand, then stroke the back of it with controllable rates and speed in order to elicit what we call the rubber hand syndrome, or the rubber hand illusion, and this will be done on both hands. So this is my first attempt at hacking the phantom Omni to behave like a robot arm. Firstly, I'll run some code that I've written in MATLAB, which generates trajectories based on waypoints. So you can first imagine my left hand here is the patient's hand. The workflow goes as follows. You run the code, and then you at the starting point, which ideally will be actually a different inkwell like that, so you can dock the pen here. You start with that point. You then click along waypoints. At the moment, it's linear interpolation, but that can be easily changed. You then may want to move the pen back after stroking the patient's hand, and you go back to the origin, and you long press. What then that gives you is a trajectory like that. So you can barely see it. The red dots are where I clicked, and the black line is a series of really, really fine-grained dots or trajectory points that the phantom will now move through. Now, unfortunately, I moved my hand, so let's hope it still strokes it correctly. And the code runs using a servo loop in C, and it does it via force control. So what it's effectively doing is saying, okay, I want to move this point along the back of the person's hand. The trajectory points you saw earlier behaves like a mass with a spring attached to the tip, and it'll pull the tip along the person's hand. That's the way it works. It's sort of changing a force control device, hacking it so that it behaves like a position control device. So let's hope all this works. So you can see now it's stroking the patient's hand. There's a bit of a small oscillation there because it's using a spring model, but that could be easily damped out, I think, with the brush. So that's it. That's a phantom Omni behaving like a robot arm.